Alright. Hello and welcome to anyone watching this past, present, or future, and welcome to a very unscheduled stream at a very scheduled time. Because recently, a lot of people I follow have been talking about the new... Oh my god, thank you, Huey! I'm the top tier Pandadil? Wow. I didn't even know I was on a tier list. But, welcome to a unorthodox stream. By unorthodox, I mean, not the incorrect opinion. Today I was gonna do Fire Emblem. Then, I've been watching a few content creators that I follow talk about one D&D, and it's made me think about game mechanics, as well as a project I have coming up for my 2-year that I've kept a little secret, and plan to until next week on Thursday, 9:30 p.m. EST, or when my schedule drops on Monday, which you can check out which you can always check out either on my Twitter or my Discord if you think Twitter's dying. But it's been making me think a lot about game design. It makes me think a lot about the Sorcerer, because the Sorcerer in 1D&D, honestly, is getting the good shit. They're getting good cantrips and, like, little spells to make them stand out more, even if their metamagics are being kind of nerfed a little bit. It at least feels like they're trying to get them their own sense of identity and make them feel like they have a bit more for being Sorcerer than just, well, you have the flavor text. And so, like, I kind of want to look at the old attempts of Sorcerer and how can we clean them up and make them a bit better? Because the main three that I definitely want to go over tonight, I don't know how fast or how slow this process is, and I've got a few backed up in my little back pocket for what I would want to do if I feel the mood to keep on going. Especially because with Sorcerer you only need so many things. Because Sorcerer they kept pretty bare bones. But back before Xanathars came out, there was Batch of Unearthed Arcana, because that's how Wizards of the Coast always beta tests their stuff, right? If they are going to release something, they're going to vet it through players in the community, make sure it's balanced enough, and see what people think, right? Like, College of Eloquence was through Unearthed Arcana before Tasha's came out. It was ridiculous. I didn't think it would get through, but lo and behold, it went through anyway, so womp womp. But by the time that Xanathar was coming out, they came out with 4 different sorcerers for one of each elements of, like, wind, and air, wind, earth, fire, and water. But only the storm sorcerer has, which is essentially the air elemental sorcerer, right? And as cool as that is, I love storm sorcerer. It's great. It's my first sorcerer I've ever done. I didn't even use any of this shit because I didn't know how sorcerers played. I was a newbie at that time. But I kind of want to look at a few key things, right? Like, we're going to look over Storm Sorcerer, see why that may have gotten ahead than the rest, especially at the time there would only been, like, what? It would have been, like, the what? 5th Sorcerer subclass? But let's see what made it stand out for the time. And let's try to also clean up and modernize the other elemental elemental sorcerer class, because even though Storm Sorcerer is pretty good, Storm Sorcerer is more so to have the flavor of controlling the storms, and that's great. But, we need to also, for these Unearthed Arcana ones, add spells to them, because that's something, thankfully, they've been adding for more modern sorcerers, and sorcerers are just needed for a long time. Honestly, I won't be surprised if we get through these 3, if I just go to Dragon Sorcerer, because Dragon Sorcerer needs reworking. It needs so much reworking. Because it definitely was one of the first ones, and it's a cool idea. It's got really good flavor, but it needs a lot of things. It needs a lot of just reworking. But yeah, so general goals: get additional spells. Just like additional spells on top of your sorcerer list, and things to use sorcery points for. Because I feel like that's a very important part of Sorcerer is the sorcery points. And although it's very good to have as like a base option for meta magic and allowing you to cast more spells than the typical caster, I think it is very important for a subclass to encourage you to use those resources. Like, yeah, your resources are quite plentiful, and you can always get more by sacrificing spells to get sorcery points. But I feel that, like, you should be incentivized for, like, channeling it in unique ways that only your subclass could do, right? Like, for examples that we see in the game would be, say, good example would be Shadow Sorcerer. I think does a fantastic job with it, where you could use a spell slot to cast Darkness, or you can use, like, 2 or 3 sorcery points to conjure magical darkness that you can see through, or summon a dog with your sorcery points. Like, using those as, like, cool gimmicks for your power to manifest. Or for Divine Souls, you basically have a meta magic that is unique to you and healing that you can use sorcery points on, which is very cool and very nice. So I'm thinking we'll probably look more of that around the 6th level part as our general benchmark, just because I feel like then you have plenty of sorcery points to start working with and really experiment and play and dabble with. But I think we also gotta be mind with sorcerers are front and back loaded. So we gotta be very careful more so what we give at the beginning, but like not give a shit about what we give at the end. Because Sorcerer is a hot mess in how they're distributed. So their first 6 levels you get so much shit. Like, first level you get your subclass, second level you get your sorcery points to get a bit more spell slots essentially. Then you get meta magic so you can really play around your spells. 4th level of course you get your feat or ability score improvement. 5th level, of course, you get your 3rd level spells, so you don't really need much from that. 6th level, you get your sorcerer feature. Then you get 4th level spells. Then you get a feat, like everyone else. And then you get 5th level spells, like every other spellcaster. Then at 10th level, you finally get another meta magic. Like, there is a drought for several levels that makes you not different than anyone else. So that's the struggle deals with in the end game. Sorcerer gets like capstones at level 14 and 18, which are points that you're probably never gonna be in, so we can go nuts with those. But anyway, we should get started. Alright, so first off, we can get rid of Magic Pan and the miscellaneous loading. Webs is open. Let's get to our little loaded up. Let's make our webs a little bigger. Hope that looks good. Let's see, does it look good enough? Okay, cool. So, what we're gonna do is first, we're gonna be looking at the UA. We're gonna be looking at what we have here in on Wikidot, which is a great site if you want to look at any of the free archive D&D stuff. It's a great site, been using it for a long time since the D&D wiki just kind of imploded as it got a better layout. And we're going to be sort of experimenting with stuff here in this Google Doct. Yo, is this the bike theme? Oh, okay, it's X and Y. Oh. Anyway. So, I'm kind of curious and seeing what our competition is for this UA, right? Like, when we go in and see, like, oh, Storm Sorcerer got as early as Sword Coast. I didn't know that. Alright, so let's see what Storm Sorcerer had to offer that our other elemental companions could not keep up with. They had Wind Speaker, which lets you know primordial, which I think makes sense for an elemental. And you'd also get Tempest Magic, an ability that I would have loved to use if I ever remembered using it as Storm Sorcerer. So starting at first level, you can use a bonus action on your turn when you to cause whirling gusts of elemental air to briefly surround you, immediately before or after you cast a spell at first level or higher. Doing so allows you to fly 10 feet without provoking opportunity attacks. So, very good for mobility, which is something you kind of want with sort of feeling like you master the winds. You can decide if you do this before or after casting the spell, which is very good because it gives you very flexibility if you need to get a little closer, if you want to get a little further away, and gives you a good escape option when you need it. Especially at first level, you're very squishy. You're definitely going to want that, and it's going to be a good tool going in later. A level 6, you get Heart of the Storm. You get resistance to lightning and thunder damage, which makes sense. In addition, whenever you cause a spell first level or higher that deals lightning or thunder damage, stormy magic erupts from you. The eruption causes a creature of your choice that you can see within 10 feet of you take lightning or thunder damage, equal to half your sorcerer level. So this is just general, a little bit of damage, because especially earlier Wizards of the Coast really like Sorcerer being sort of a blaster. So I guess that's kind of a thing where it gives you resistance to 2 damage types. One's a bit more niche, one's a bit more, they're kind of niche types, but they may happen, they may occur. In addition, whenever you cast spells that do this, that aren't cantrips, you can do a little bit of splash damage onto... Yeah, okay, so it's any creature within 10 feet. So you can cause a small AoE that does a good amount of chip damage. And it's guaranteed, it's set. Hey, Hell, how you doing? Also, with the case of your eggs, I'll probably be available to trade after stream if you're still up. If not, I've got tomorrow morning or evening right before stream. Additionally, at 6th level, because a good thing that I do like Sorcerer doing is when they add like 1 or 2 traits for the 1st or 6th level. So there's always that. I like it that they give you a lot of little things because Sorcerer needs them. They also get Storm Guide, which is a bit more of a niche ability. If it's raining, you can use an action to cause the rain to stop falling within a 20-foot radius sphere centered on you. You can enter as a bonus action. So, kind of niche, but it's a cool flavor. If it's windy, you can use a bonus action each round to choose the direction the wind is blowing in a 100-foot radius sphere centered on you. The wind blows in a direction until your next turn. Creatures in ultra speed the wind. This is kind of like a at-will gust of wind if there is already wind. This is kind of a niche ability, but like could be useful if you wanted to play it in a sea campaign, which kind of feels like what it's guiding you to be. But this also feels like an ability where like if your DM sees that you're a storm sorcerer, they're gonna probably throw storms at you. So yeah. It's kind of like one of those things where it's like, it will be used, but not because it will come up naturally, more so your DM setting you up to do it. So, what we see here, these like opening levels for the one that got through, you get good mobility, you get a little bit of, you get resistance to your elements of choice, as well as, you know, a little bit of extra tip damage, and some flavor to manipulate the weather around you. Then we get to level 14, whenever you're hit with a melee attack, you can use a reaction to deal lightning damage to the attacker. The damage equals to your sorcerer level, so at least 14 minimum damage. The attacker must also make a strength saving throw against its sorcerer spell save DC. On a failed, the attacker is pushed up to 20 feet away from you. So that's very good because you as a sorcerer are going to be squishy. Because even with your con, even with good rolls, I played a sorcerer with good HP and with good con. You're a Blissey. You're high AC. You're high HP for what you are. Low AC. So this does a good job for punishing anyone who tries to attack you because you're going to do set damage back and you're going to be able to attempt to push them far away from you and give you space to work with, because if you cast a spell, you can also get additional distance. So it's good for controlling mobility and it's good power play. Lastly, level 18 is Wind Soul. At level 18, you get immunity to lightning and thunder damage, which is cool. You gain a magical flying speed of 60 feet, which is great. Flying at will at this level is amazing. As an action, you can reduce your flying speed to 30 for 1 hour and choose creatures. A number of creatures within 30 feet of you go to 3 plus your charisma modifier, so up to 8 creatures. Chosen creature magically gains the fly speed of 30 feet for 1 hour. Once you reduce the flying speed this way, you can't do so again to official functional rest. So basically, mass fly. Really cool. Great for a party, great for cool moves, and also just generally gives your party a lot more mobility. That's great. Though, I will say, this subclass, as cool as it is, it's great flavor, it's great for, especially for me when I was an earlier player, to more solidify what kind of spells I wanted to look for and dabble into. I really do find it kind of lacking compared to, say, Shadow Sorcerer or Divine Soul. Because, of course, you don't get spells on top of this, where I feel like Divine Soul compensates for its lack of features with the fact you get the whole cleric spell list on top of it as things you can pick up, or Shadow Sorcerer having more means to use your sorcery points and everything. This just feels like this is a cool mage. They kind of slapped it on the sorcerer. So it's kind of interesting how this sort of got through, as is. But now let's look at its sort of, I don't think contemporary is the right word. It's competitors, as it were. Like what would have been coming out around the same time. We're gonna start with Phoenix Sorcery because this is the first one, and I guess there's some thoughts on how I want to kind of do that. Because Phoenix Sorcery is supposed to be the it's supposed to be like the Fire Sorcerer, with having the great powerful Phoenix, right? And we'll look at specific vibe check, but like when I think about Phoenix Fantasy, I think of, yes, you could do fire, but you also could be a bit supportive because, the Phoenix always arises from the ashes, right? So it's a powerful destructive force, but it is a force that will rise after. So, yeah. I kind of want to see something a bit offensive and something that can maybe support in some way, rather if it be you, the sorcerer, or other players. We'll kind of vibe check this as we go, but let's see what we already have in place, what we do want to stick with, what we want to completely alter, or if this is something we just want to completely scrap, take the premise, and run. Alright, so at first level you get Ignite, which is sort of more of a flavor ability, where you gain the ability to touch something and start a fire. As an action, you can magically ignite a flammable object you touch on your hand, an object such as a torch, piece of tinder, or hem of drape. So this is like your general flavor ability to just have flames. I feel like now we can just do that by just getting the produce flame cantrip. Because I do feel like this one would be very beneficial from actually getting spells, especially with fire being one of the most, like, common damage type for spells imaginable. So we might work with that instead of ignite. We might want to get a different ability for this. This is sort of our flavor ability and something that might be useful. Rather if it may be also being able to speak primordial, or maybe a general maybe something to do with the spell list that we get. Or maybe something that's a bit more supportive to encourage that aspect of the Phoenix is sort of a destructive, but a destructive force, but also a force of life. So Ignite, definitely going to get scrapped. That's just going to be replaced with a cantrip that exists now. Like, when Arcana 28 maybe came out, I don't think Produce Flame existed, because that came out in Xanathar's as well. This was being more so for Swords Coast, which didn't have Produce Flame. That's where Booming Blade and Green Flame Blade came from. Alright, well, let's look at the bread and butter ability that looks like your general thing you're going to be having if you were this class, right? It says 2015. You're seeing this is a new sub, the like 2016. You're seeing this is coming out, and you're sort of going like, ooh, would I play this? So, at first level, you also get the Mantle of Flame. Starting at first level, you can unleash the Phoenix fires that blaze within you. As a bonus action, you magically weather yourself in swirling flame as your eyes glow like hot coals. 1 minute, you gain the following benefits. You shed bright light 30 feet in a 30-foot radius, and dim light for 30-foot radius. Any creature takes fire damage equal your charisma modifier if it hits you with a melee attack within 5 feet of you or touches you. Whenever you roll fire damage on your turn, the roll gains a bonus equal to your charisma modifier. You can do this once per long rest. So right here, I do think the Mantle of Flame is kind of a cool premise. You get a little transformation. You get to be really fiery. You get to have like a burst of power, it feels like. And, you know, having it once per long rest is fine, because that's great. We may change it to proficiency modifier, just because that sort of fits in more to what Tasha's was leaning into. And I think that sort of encourages maybe less so having very powerful effects, but like more so having things you want to do in combat often. But what we see here is that, okay, shedding bright light is like thematically really cool, but oftentimes you're not really, if you're in darkness, either most of your party has dark vision, or you're not really worried about the darkness. Or if you were gonna use Mental Flame, you're clearly using it in a combat situation. You don't want to use it in a situation where you're in the Underdark or something, no one has torches or dancing lights, and you just need to become the torch, right? Like, it's cool flavor, but I feel like if we were to swap out a different ability, it probably would be better to have. Any creature that takes fire damage, any creature takes fire damage to your charisma modifier if it hits you with a melee attack within 5 feet of you, or if it touches you. This could become a problem. Or at least it could, I think, cause players maybe not to pick this. Because, yes, if melee attackers are coming at you, it punishes them by, dealing fire damage, right? Something that, most people don't like to be burned when they try to swing their axe at you. But it also states, or if it touches you, and it's any creature, it's not enemies, it's just anything that touches you. So that would mean if your allies try to use Cure Wounds on you and you're in Mantle of Flame, they're gonna be hurt. And I feel like in a system like 5e, especially how it's progressed, it probably wouldn't want to use that wording, and I feel like if it did make it into the books, that would probably be reworded. But I do like the idea that you can sort of punish anyone who's trying to attack you. I don't know if we want to keep hurting anyone that touches you, because again, that can stop synergy from players trying to support you. Specifically, clerics, in particular, a lot of spells that have range touch, or paladins that try to support a sorcerer, it really punishes them. Like if they want to do something like heroism or protect from good and evil, cure wounds, like basic spells like that I can see being useful rather mid-combat, to be defensive, or maybe even warding bond. I know that's more of a range thing, but still, like if you want to be thematic of giving the ring, things like that, it could present a problem. Of course, touch spells aren't a big category, but they're more like, oh, there's more than you think there are, especially at lower levels. And when you roll fire damage on your turn, the roll gains a bonus equal to your charisma modifier. So that's decent. It's decent chip damage. It's decent extra bonus damage. You don't really get that for cantrips. So as far as this says, it gets any fire damage, so it can make cantrips really powerful, which could be really good for Sorcerer, because Sorcerer gets a lot of cantrips. And there's quite a few for fire, so that could be pretty funky. I feel like it's most powerful for cantrips rather than spells, but like Scorching Ray is going to be very powerful, because like if you had max charisma at level 1, which is not impossible, you could be doing essentially 66 plus 15 damage, which is pretty good. I think we may keep that. I'm not a big fan of just adding charisma modifier for just damage, because I feel like it's kind of lazy. But I feel like if that's another thing that's happening, I don't think that's bad. So I think we want to keep the Mental Flame concept, but we definitely want to tweak it a bit. I like how it's a bonus action. That's good because you can still do the fire stuff. I think we probably want to get a different ability for the 30-foot radius. Like maybe add something additional to it, because it doesn't really feel like it adds or takes away from anything. Maybe reword or rework anyone touching you getting fire damage, and probably gonna keep the final ability. At level 6, Phoenix Spark. At 6th level, the fiery energy within you glows, restless and vengeful. In the face of defeat, it surges outward to preserve you in a fiery roar. If you're reduced to 0 hit points, you could use your action to draw on the Spark of the Phoenix. And it's July 5th on a Wednesday, and I hear fireworks. Why? You're instead reduced to 1 hit point, and each creature within 10 feet of you takes fire damage equal to your sorcerer level plus charisma modifier. If you use this feature while under the effects of Mantle of Flame, this feature instead deals fire damage equal to your sorcerer level plus double your charisma modifier, and your Mantle of Flame instantly ends. So this is a pretty cool concept, because this, at a pretty early point in the game, like when most players are going through their journey, you're going to likely pick up this. Rather, if you're starting at 3rd or 5th level, you're going to get this relatively soon. And this is going to be a pretty good ability. It gets amplified by your Mental Flame, which I really love. I love it when class features stack on each other. I do think one thing that a player may be worried about is the idea that it's every creature within 10 feet, and 10 feet is a bigger radius than you think. Yeah, it's only half a fireball, but you're also doing a mini fireball. Like, at this point, if you max out your charisma, you're doing 11 damage to everyone, flat. And if you're in Mental Flame, that goes up to, at most, if your charisma's maxed, that would be, yeah, about 6, but, wait. Yeah, that would be like 21 damage. That would be like an average of a fireball. So I know a lot of parties like to group up. They like to do what I call the get 'em strategy, where they just surround an enemy if possible and bully them. They like to go very physical and punish them. So I feel like Phoenix Spark can be really good, but I don't know if this is. I feel like we can rework this. I think this is a good concept. I like this. Maybe also give us hit points back. Not a lot, but maybe a little bit, because I know with even Orcus Resilience, like sometimes being reduced to 1 hit point may not be really helpful. Like, yes, it has a reaction, so it could be, but like if there are multiple enemies, then it may not actually help you. It may paint a target on you. So maybe we could add like a little bit of healing to it. And maybe if you're in the Mantle of Flame, it could give you a bit more hit points back. Like, I get the symbolism of the 1 back. And I do like the idea that it's damage and heal. But I feel like you just need maybe a little more, like maybe a dice or 2. Just to help you out and make sure you're not gonna get like downed right again. Then we get to level 14 with Nourishing Fire. At 14th level, your fire soothes and restores you. When you expend a slow slot to cast that includes fire damage, you gain hit points equal spell slots. Level plus your charisma power. That is pretty good. That's pretty good. I do like that. Because it very much rewards you for being a pyromancer, and it gives you health back for it, which I do think is a good way to make the sorcerer feel a lot more sustainable. Especially because it's sort of spell slot plus charisma modifier. So you're probably doing like Scorching Ray, which is probably going to be your bread and butter. That's on average about 7 hit points coming back, which isn't really a lot. But if you really want to burn spell slots, or even like you're a class that is most likely to be casting spells, it could be useful. But also it is only ones that include fire damage, which let's actually check how many spells that is actually. Because I'm kind of curious. Because like that as I'm talking, that sounds like a cool idea. It sounds like a cool pitch. About practical listen, how much hit points would you be getting when you cast them? So Burning Hands, of course, you'd get maybe 6 hit points back. Chaos Spell, you might get 6 hit points back if you casted it. Chromatic Orb would be a possible 6. So that's 3 right now. Okay. So that'd be a 7. Mechanism Scorcher. Dragon's Breath can be 1. And it's only when you cast it, not when you use it. Oh, hi Miri, how you doing? I'm trying to look at old UA sorcerer subclasses and try to modernize and patch them up. Also, yeah, we gotta be big nerd. We gotta get a brainworm over here. Because the brainworm over here, to show Miri, because she's a bit new around here. Brainworm tells me little secrets. Tells me little secrets to modernize the gameplays. Because he's a fancy boy who already has a sorcerer stuff. So we're sort of reviewing a trait that a 14th level sorcerer can get with this Phoenix Soul, is that every time they cast a fire spell, they regain hit points equal to the spell slot's level and charisma modifier. Looks like you're nibbling at the worm sometimes. But don't worry, he's a little gummy, but I'm gonna give him a little space. Okay. So yeah, we're just looking at spells that actually would give that. Wait. Okay, so there's 3 here. For a potential 5, 6, 7. Because I know fire is the most common one, but just want to double check, like, Pyrotechnics doesn't actually do damage. 8. Alright, so we got a lot of options, but they're not really high level, right? Because this is beginning to use 6 hit points, this is beginning to use 7 hit points. 8. 9. 10. Oh, fuck, you got flame arrows now? Shit. Let's see, we got 10 so far. But not a lot of options. It just kind of pigeonholed you. I know you're sort of in that state already, but it's only when you cast it. So at this point you would be getting, because yeah, these you're probably going to be casting a lot, even if they're small potatoes. Yeah, dude, that was like the beginning of last year. What, you want me to drink? You want me to drink about my sorrows when I'm talking about the fire sorcerer? Okay, fine, I will. Alright. So, okay. So far we're getting like a solid 3 options for every spell slot. And then some, because we're around 10. Once we get to 4th level, there's Fire Shield, but it's only when you cast it. And that one could be even a debate from your player and DM. But we'll count it, right? So that would give you like, what, 9 hit points? And that's only one for, okay, we get Wall of Fire, so you get 2 options to get 9 hit points. Faith, you get 10 hit points, which is like a decent heal as someone who's played a high level, with a character that had regeneration of 10 hit points every level. Yes, 10 hit points is a lot for a squishier class. And you'd be able to do it possibly more regularly. But with him, it was like a passive ability as opposed to actively doing it. And if you're actively doing it, you're probably doing it more so as like an emergency or just for convenience sake. So I like the idea of it. Honestly, could probably be more useful earlier on. But let's see, at 5th level, it's gonna be about like 10 hit points. Yeah, it's like when it gets to decent healing for the sake of healing. But even then, you don't really get 5th level spell. I think immolation. So you get 1, really. They can do that unless you're upcasting. 6th level. If you're doing a vesture of flame, but does that do fire damage? It does, okay. So you get 1 initial option to get 11 hit points. But Touch of the Worldly Guys doesn't do fire damage, does it? Like, even if you're the Fiend? Because he's immunity to them. Yeah, it doesn't. So it's not a lot right now. Not a lot of options as we get to the later game. Delayed Fireball, of course. Draconic Transformation activated is only force damage. Okay, we do get access to Firestorm. But at this point, we're only getting, we're getting 12 hit points back. I think Incinerate Cloud is fire damage, so that's probably going to be about, like... Yeah, but the most we're getting is 14 hit points back, and even then Meteor Storm does do it. But, like, it kind of is like, yeah, we have a lot of options, but it really relies on the fact that you are in a situation where you're going to be casting fire damage, because fire is a very commonly resistant type as well. I like it on paper, but more that I look at it, it's like, that's not actually a lot of hit points, especially at that level, because again, at playing at higher levels, like, I think when my Necromancer became a water vampire to get continuous healing, he was... He was probably reaching about level 10, like 10 or 11. And that was a point where he was like around 60 hit points. No, he rolled pretty well. Because right now he's at 114. But yeah, he was like in the 70s or so of hit points. And like, yeah, getting that hit points back regularly is very great. But I feel like at this level, if you had to actively go out of your way to do it, that's a lot. That's a lot of you having to manage not only what spells you have, but are you willing to use it to burn what is essentially a healing resource? I don't know. I feel like we can remix that. Because I feel like it's a lot more useful in early levels when you have like, when you're very, very squishy, more so at level 14. Level 14 and 18, we can go knocking futs with it, okay? Alright, level 18, we have Form of the Phoenix. At 18th level, you finally master the spark of fire that dances within you. While under the effect of the mental flame feature, you gain the following benefits: a flying speed of 40 feet and can hover. Resistance to all damage. Okay, well we're level 18, so it doesn't matter. And you need that as a sorcerer, so that's great. When you use Phoenix Spark, it does an extra 20 damage for each creature. Okay, so I like that. It builds onto this. Okay, so first off, I think on this checklist of what we want to do is Scrap Ignite. Scrap Ignite, get something fancier, because we don't need that. That is a flavor thing, but we can get so much better flavor. You just need to produce flame. Like, that's stuff a player would do with cantrips. We don't need a designated ability for it. Mantle Flame we'll keep, we rework it. Either keep the 30-foot brightness as, like, a thing, but, like, overall, we could scrap it. We can keep it in as a treat, but that's not the focus. Rework any creature that touches you, because that could be more of a detriment for you. Keep the charisma. Work with Phoenix Spark, because we like the idea. Maybe enhance it. Maybe we were enhance Phoenix Spark. Change out Nourishing Fire, and Form of the Phoenix is pretty good. That's pretty solid. All right. So first off, let's start with. Actually, let's look at how they do more of the modern spell casting. So let's look at how the Sanic spells are. Do the answers level, you can replace one of your gain spells on this feature with another spell at the same level. Most people do. Okay, so that of course gives flexibility. Okay, but that's just for that. What about Clock Soul? They give a lot more flexibility. I don't think we're gonna do that for these categories, mostly because they're elemental in nature. And so we probably want to keep them in that category. But okay. Yeah, it still looks like they get one for they get about 2 spells easy. So yeah, let's start with like a little spell table. Here we'll probably exchange Ignite for maybe like igniting the Spark of Magic, right? Let's see. Let's make the text a bit bigger so it shows better on stream. I wonder how that looks. It's gonna wait a little bit. Okay, Spark of Magic. Here, I'll make that a little smaller. First level. Gain Ignan. We'll just add Speaking Primordial for all of these, because I feel like that's appropriate. I'm just going to put that on here. I'm not going to worry so much about polishing the formatting. I'm just more getting the ideas down and everything. I'll probably when I'm done with these, I'll probably put them on my Discord, which I will shill again, because Twitter is dying, and it's a better way for you to keep up with my nonsense. I swear, does it have to be... It does, okay. Yeah, I'll probably put them on my Discord, when I have them a bit more flushed out and everything. Also, I'm gonna be right back because it's getting hot in here. I am not taking off all my clothes unless you redeem my removal of cravat or tape. That can be removed. So hot. Alright. So yeah, we'll just say we can speak primordial because why not? We are... Reduce. Well, we'll capitalize that because I feel like it's a bit proper. Reduce. Flame cantrip. Let's see, how do we phrase that with Oh yeah, we'll say it doesn't count. And that's pretty good because sorcerers are very good with passive magic, meaning that they're, like, yeah, they don't have a lot of spell slots, or, like, not a lot of spells they know, but they can cast a lot. Rather if it's through cantrips or sorcerer points to give them more spell slots, they are the rapid fire cast. So giving them, like, they get, like, at level 1, they get, like, the most cantrips. They get 4 cantrips, so at this point we're getting, like, 5 cantrips. We are having so many. And you have one that already does fire damage, and it's not, yeah, it's not fireable, but it's, like, something that keeps the flavor of Ignite, and it could be a bit more flavorful, as opposed to fireball, which is just straight damage. Alright. How do we phrase this for sorcerers? It's been so long. What does it kind of gets a number of note? Okay. Alright, so we're gonna make a little table here to try and get out what spells we want to pick out that are particularly fire and maybe support themed, because I feel like the general vibe check that we want is more so that mix of, like, fire and destruction. So we probably want a fire spell and a support spell. That makes us be not quite the Divine Soul level of, like, support, or even Clockwork level of support, but more so like we are Devastation and we are the Wildfire and we are the ones helping after. Like, honestly, I feel like Wildfire Druid is what tried to be like this vibe. But yeah, so let's get a table. Let's see, because we only want, I think these tables are 2, right? Yeah. I am not an expert in this, so let's see, up to level 5. So 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. There we go. Okay. Let's see, so level 1. Where? Oh no. Oh no, I made a mistake. Delete. Need 5. Need 5. Give me 5. Okay, much better. So, like, 1, level 3, 5, level 7, and level 9. Because the innate magic stuff only is up to level 5, and afterwards, like, fuck around and find out yourself. So let's look at sort of our vibe check options for first level and what we kind of want of our fire spell. Because we got a few choices, right? Because, like, Burning Hands is always an option. Chromatic Orb is too, but I feel like it's a bit too varied. At least for what we're looking for. Let's just look at all first levels as a treat. Just so we can see all our options, because I like it when sometimes we go a little outside of just Sorcerer or whatever class we're getting expanded spells for, because I feel like that's a better incentive for you to pick that subclass, right? Like when I look at Trickster Domain, I like how you get a lot of more illusionary or enchantment spells you don't usually get as a cleric, or as warlock with spells like or the warlock, whenever you get spells like, oh, I don't get this kind of spell. I don't get to cast Fireball as a warlock. Dude, let me get Pact of the Fiend. Alright, so of course, Burning Hands is definitely a big interest. I don't think Absorb Elements would be great, although that could be good support for us having Survival, which could be very key. I feel like we aren't going to be Martial, so we don't want to have that one. But we're looking at Burning Hands. That one's good. Chromatic Orb is a bit too flexible, I think, for our taste. We're looking probably just for a straight fire one. Fairy Fire could be a good support one, honestly. A classic combo of Burning Hands and Fairy Fire to give your party more so of a advantage. Give it a more supportive role there. Always a good spell to have for the team. Hellish Rebuke could be spicy, but I feel like it's a bit too reactive. Especially because I feel like as a sorcerer you want to be the one blasting, right? Because that's how it's tended to be built. You want to use it frequently. And Hellish Rebuke is really cool. I would say that's better for like a if you wanted to go for like a magic initiate, that's a great spell for that. Alright, so I think we're gonna do... I like the very basic Burning Hands and Fairy Fire. Because I like how it sort of satisfies that, like, support and DPS. I feel like that's the general mesh we want, right? For second level, of course we want to add... Of course we're gonna add Scorching Ray. Because, of course, the player is gonna pick Scorching Ray. If you don't know Scorching Ray, dear lord, it's devastating. Because it's definitely one of those spells that's, like, great if you have multiple targets to hit. Because it's built to take 3 targets and deal, like, pretty decent damage to both of them. To, like, up to 3 targets. But, also, it's 3 rays that do 2d6 fire damage each. So you could just target a creature and deal 6d6 fire damage. You're doing Mantle of Flame, that's going to be an additional 15 damage with just how Mantle of Flame works and how we're keeping it. So it's pretty good. And that's, of course, if you max out your charisma. Even if you're doing decent build, like, Jesus. Why? It's a Wednesday. Stop having fireworks. Anyway, so this is pretty good. It's probably going to be a bread and butter spell for you, and something that if someone's having a fire build, they're definitely going to just pick it up, because why wouldn't they? So we're just going to slap that on. Now we gotta look at a supportive spell that we want to add. Because like aid, I don't think would really fit. It could be nice. Wouldn't it be nice? Branding Smite could be fun, but we're not really going to be melee. We're definitely more of the blaster. Continual Flame could be something, but Continual Flame I feel like is kind of a weird niche. Like what do you exactly do well, Continual Flame? That costs money? Oh, it costs money? That means, oh no, that means most players, or at least most tables that enforce material components means that like, oh, you need to spend like $50 to make this work. But yeah, it's a flame that burns. It doesn't. It just always is a lit. Causes no heat. Doesn't use oxygen. It just lasts forever until like dispelled. Which is like flavor. But I don't know if that's gonna be something that we want for a support spell, because that's a utility spell. But like, it's a very niche situation, right? So let's see our other options. Because like, Flaming Spear is another option, but like, I don't want to just go straight fire, fire. Heat Metal could be something. Because that would sort of just be you evoking power. We did kind of sleep over that one, looking at things that do fire damage. Gust of Wind could also be pretty cool with you, just like getting the wings of the Phoenix and blowing it, and also how like air feeds into fire, which works for like a bird figure, you know? We could always work at that, and I think Gust of Wind's honestly a sleeper spell, because like it's a pretty long and like wide line of 60 feet long and 10 feet wide. It also is, again, I feel like it's a spell that like players don't think about often, but like if they had it in their hands, they could do a lot of cool things. And I feel like a lot of spells in the game are like that, where some were like, yeah, no brainer, so of course I gotta pick Fireball because of the big AoE damage. Yeah, but then it's like, oh, but like I know when I was playing my Necromancer, he got an eye that was able to cast See Invisibility at will. Now, that's a spell I would never pick up, and like actually use regularly. I know because my first D&D character picked up See Invisibility, and I never really used it. So yeah, and I feel like sometimes giving players a special spell or a spell they don't usually use in their repertoire without having to go out of their way to do it, honestly, works out very well. So each creature in the line that starts to turn it must succeed a strength saving throw, which doesn't happen super often. You don't see a lot of strength saving throws because I usually just do with mobility. And if they fail, they are pushed 15 feet away in the direction that you choose. And it counts as difficult terrain if they're trying to get closer. You know, you could always flavor that maybe movement's doubled. If it's going the way of the flow, it really depends on how you want to roll it. The gust spears gas and vapor, so extinguishes candles, torches, and similar unprotected flames in the area. It causes protected flames, such as those of lanterns, dance wildly and have a 50% chance to exhaust them. Suppose action each turn. Before the spell ends, you can change the direction of the line blasts from you. So it does a really cool job being able to control movement and also maybe do some collateral damage for your wacky fires. But I think it's really cool with like the ideas of the wings of the Phoenix, and it's a very good control spell, and especially because a lot of your fire spells that you are getting, such as agonizing, like even just default, right, like burning hands or like scorching ray, those DPS spells, they're not concentration. Fireball's not concentration. Even if you pick up agonizing scorcher, like you can line that up with the flame and deal some pretty good damage. Hell, you could probably see if your DM will allow you to boost the fire damage because the air is feeding it. Or even increase the area to the 10 feet. Like, you could do a lot of wacky stuff with that flavoring, but let's see some other options that we got here. This sort of may fit our little section here. Let's see, pyrotechnics. No. Okay, well, let me actually look at pyrotechnics. Let me give pyrotechnics the time of day. Choose an area of flame that you can see within 5 feet of you, which, likely knowing you, you're probably gonna have a lot of access to. You would extinguish the fire in the area and create either a firework or smoke. Fireworks explode with dazzling display of colors. Each creature within 10 feet of the target must succeed on a Constitution saving throw or become blinded to the end of your next turn. Or smoke, the black smoke spreads out from the target within 20-foot radius, moving around corners. This area of smoke is heavily obscure. The smoke persists for 1 minute or until a strong wind dissipates it. So that's not too bad. It actually is some pretty nice utility of creating an escape option for you, or crippling eyesight in a AoE setting, unlike, say, blindness deafness. And you're definitely gonna have fire, so you're definitely gonna be able to use it. I may actually add pyrotechnics, because I like Gusto in, but honestly, pyrotechnics may be the real wild card spell. I don't think a lot of people would prepare, but maybe use if they just had it. Yeah, okay. Let's put pyrotechnics in, just as a way to sort of experiment a little bit. And of course we're gonna have fire. It's like, why wouldn't we have fire? Automatically prepared. You don't even have to worry about it. It's a bonus spell, so like you can get another spell at 5th level other than Fireball. Because like sometimes when you get stuff that's just in Sorcerer, which I think a lot of these spells are actually, it's okay because they don't count against the spells you know. But let's check our other 3rd level spell option, because like Asheron's Stride is so cool, but maybe we need something different. Beacon of Hope could be kind of cool, but you're probably gonna have a lot of concentration. And I don't know if Phoenix is necessarily a beacon of hope. Elemental weapon, let's see, it's a touch. I don't know. It's bad that it's an action. Or do sorcerers get it anyway? They don't actually. Interesting. But like, that's a spell that really should be bonus action, because like otherwise, it's not good. It's not good to invest a turn to make it elemental damage. Like, it's not bad damage, but it's more so the fact like, it's a turn. You can just get fly, so you can be a phoenix, just have wings. Because that's a good utility for you or others, because fly, I believe, is touch, yeah. Revivify could be interesting for the Phoenix. Revivify could be interesting for the Phoenix. I like that. You know what? We'll add Revivify on there because I think that's really cool. It adds a sort of like supportive vibe to what we're looking for. And also allows us to use our own magics of resurrecting from the grave to aid others who fall. You know? I think that's kind of cool. Alright, let's take our 4th level spell options. And it definitely is a spell you wouldn't normally get. Elemental Bane could always be good. Just in general, because Elemental Bane's basically like, you have weakness. Ooh, it's not something we also get normally. Yeah, because basically it's forcing Constitution saving throw, and if they fail, the target gets 2d6 extra damage to whatever damage type you choose, and they also lose any resistance. Which for you, oh, that's fantastic. Especially because a lot of the spells you need to do that don't have to worry about concentration. Death Ward could be good. That could be a good support spell. Also just give you a lot more survivability, which I feel like is a good part of the Phoenix vibe check we're going for. Fire Shield would be really good. Because Fire Shield kind of adds on to damage that you're going to be getting from maybe what we're going to do with Mental Flame. And Fire Shield's just a really good spell. Because Fire Shield can either give you resistance to fire or cold damage, and make you deal fire or cold damage if someone attacks you within 5 feet. And you just get to automatically deal 2d8 fire or cold damage to a target. That is very good. Sickening Radiance. I don't know. I don't think Sickening Radiance. That's a great spell. I don't think it's the one we're gonna pick. Wall of Fire. Wall of Fire, though. No, I think... I'm thinking of Fire Shield and Death Ward. Because I feel like those are just gonna... Because, like, one, those aren't spells I think you normally get. Like, in general. So, I would think that would be interesting. Right? Because Death Ward is Cleric and Ranger, typically. And, Fire Shield, I don't think is Sorcerer, unless it's a newly added one. It's newly added. But if your DM's a loser who doesn't like, Tasha's, because they think Mordecai's the best Archmage, which he isn't. He's lame. He's bald and lame and depressed in Strahd's castle because, ooh, Strahd. And meanwhile, literally in Tasha, evil hacks had to stop Tasha being so cool and trapped her in a pot. And she also fucks the Demon Lord Grits, who is like the sex Demon Lord, so shut the fuck up. Alright, so we're gonna add Death Ward. Because yeah, I like how those just sort of build into your vibe check. Because yeah, if we're gonna keep the... Because I think we're gonna rework, but keep the concept of, we're gonna keep the concept of the idea that if anyone touches you, you deal charisma modifier damage. We're essentially gonna make anyone who touches you, anyone who attacks you, take 2d8 plus potentially 5 damage, which is really good. That's really good. Like, that would be essentially you attacking with not a great sword, but like a great spear. Great spear, two-handed. Like, on average, that's gonna be about 15 damage average, which is really nice. I had that mental math right. Now we gotta look at our 5th level spells. Anti-life shell. No, we're not gonna pick anti-life shell. We do Conjure Elemental, just so it would be like our essence of fire. Dawn could be a possible one because I know it's fire damage. And that could be nice, it's sort of like the Dawn of the New Day. Flame Strike, but we're not really... Is that more of a martial one? It isn't, but it honestly makes it look like Dawn. What's Dawn? What's the difference between Dawn? Because that honestly was what I thought Dawn was. I think Dawn might just make it also real-ass daylight. Light of the Dawn shines down on a location specifically within range. Okay, a much bigger radius. Okay, but it's only radiant damage. And... Okay. Okay, so it's more long-term. It's more like the sunset, sunrise is happening right now. Immolation, let's look at that. I'm not familiar with that spell. Flames wraith one creature you can see within range. The target must make a dexterity saving throw. It takes 76 fire damage on a failed saving throw, or half as much damage on a successful. When a failed target also burns from the spell's duration. The burning target sheds bright light 30-foot radius and dim light for another 30-foot radius. At the end of each turn, it repeats the saving throw. It takes 3d6 fire damage on a failed save, and spell ends like success. These magical flames can't be extinguished through non-magical means. If damage from the spell is reduced, target 0, it is turned to ashes. So, definitely in flavor of this, and it is normally a sorcerer spell, but it's one you would just get for flavor. So that's a good choice. Good one, a good one, a good one. I mean, reincarnate could be interesting. That could be a choice. You know? Of like the ultimate way for you to like bring people back. Like you could raise dead, but reincarnate's kind of more spicy. Because like the difference between reincarnate and raise dead is that reincarnate is more so you become a new creature. Like say if you were a human, right, and you died, reincarnate will bring you back to life, but you're gonna get a new body. So you may be a gnome now, you may be a lion, you may be a tiefling. Like it's just a complete fresh start. But it doesn't have the drawbacks of Raise Dead, which has like long-term penalties, I think. Yeah, it's like the main difference. Yeah, okay. So the main difference is that like with Raise Dead, you're gonna have some penalties to being resurrected because, oh my god, does that hurt to be drawn back to life? Yeah, because if you're raised deaded, like, yeah, it's 1 hour, so it takes a lot longer. They take a -4 penalty to everything, and for like the next 4 days, it could be a bit. It's a lot more costly. I think Reincarnate's kind of fun, and I feel like it sort of goes more into the flavor of the Phoenix, you know? So I'm thinking right now, unless there's anything else, Immolation and Reincarnate. Because Immolation, I feel like, even though it's maybe not the best spell, it does a pretty good job of having a higher level fire spell. You can do continual damage. If you reduce summon HP, you get just ashes, because like, ha, funny Phoenix. Phoenix in the ashes. It's humor, it's comedy, it's right there. It's in front of your face. It's right there. Also, we're here. We're gonna get Mantle Upland. We're gonna keep that aspect. Let's see. What do we want to change anything else? So yeah, you first of all, you can unleash the fires of the Phoenix. Keep it as a bonus action. 1 minute's fine because that's usually a combat. Definitely gonna change. I feel like changing it to proficiency modifier would be good because like even when we look at like Warlock, I believe Warlock's like form of dread is now I say now as if like it ever was anything until recently. Because it's a similar sort of mechanic. You get a powerful form, use bonus action lasts for a minute. Yeah, and that's also by proficiency, and that gives you temporary hit points. That gives you, you know, frighten on creatures immunity to frightened condition. It's very aggressive. So yeah, why don't we just give another aggressive ability? Give it equal to the frequency modifier. Gives you a feeling of you're growing. Because I do think, although I think I like the idea of proficiency modifier or equal to times of the core stat you're going with, because either one of those could be pretty good. I think proficiency modifier sometimes is a bit more balanced, because then it doesn't matter what your stats are, you're going to be doing that pretty frequently. Because sometimes you roll bad if you're rolling for stats, and if you're doing one by, it can be very underwhelming. So yeah. Unleash! Sonic Unleashed! Unleash! Be when I want to get out of an apartment contract. Unleash! Weather. Weather! What is it? Wraith. And we're gonna do wow. So should we mention under the effects or... Okay, so 1 minute. Okay, that's good wording. Okay. 1 minute. Following benefits. Then we're gonna make a little bullet list here. Watermark this. Alright. So, I'll keep the 30-foot bright light, because I don't really feel like I'm... Like, that's a decent flavor. I don't really feel like I'm taking away anything by taking it, but, like, also, I don't feel like I'm giving any... It feels like it's just a feature, and it's flavor, and I'm okay with it. I'm just gonna keep it in there. Right, so you shed bright light, 30-foot radius, 30-foot dim light. How do we word that? For an additional 30-foot radius. For Anna, okay, so that's a pretty simple one. Let's see. Let's change this. Yourself, what have you missed? So we've been working on by sort of fixing the Phoenix Soul Sorcerer right now, and that's been the last hour and a half, really. So things that we're fixing up for this subclass is we've completely ditched Ignite, mostly because Ignite's mostly a flavor mechanic to just let you create, just to burn things, but we replaced that with the much better Spark of Magic, which is sort of a general ability that lets us get spells on top of our words are out of my mouth. They can't come out. It lets us have a, it's basically a modern sorcerer thing of getting more spells into our spell list without counting as sorcerer spells. And also, I let us to... Yeah, honestly, at this rate, I don't know if I'm going to get a Sea Sorcerer, but whatever we do, Sea Sorcerer will be next, just because it is. That one is interesting, because Sea Sorcerer is kind of like... I feel like it's in a little bottle, and I want to shake it. But like, considering the pace we've been going at for this Sorcerer, I don't know if this is going to become multiple streams. I don't know if I'm just going to throw Fire Emblem out of it this week and just do this. I don't know. But, yeah, we basically added additional spells like as Produce Flame onto their spell list, Burning Hands and Fairy Fire for DPS, or basic Baby's First Fire spell, and a support spell that fits the fire aesthetic. We gave him Scorching Ray, because why wouldn't we give him Scorching Ray? Pyrotechnics to have a bit more utility with the fire aesthetic. Fireball, because of course, why wouldn't you have Fireball? Aren't you going to get Fireball? You're playing a fire build, you're going to get Fireball. And also giving them Revivify so they can carry on the aspect of the Phoenix to other individuals. Death Ward so they can just do the thing they do best of just hanging on, or having others hang on just by a thread. And Fire Shield to enable enemies not to attack them physically and really punish that. Immolation is sort of their capstone to this, just so that they have a good fire damage and reduce things to ashes, as well as Reincarnation, because I think that's spicier than Ray's Dead, and also fits a lot more in the Phoenix who reincarnates. And also Reincarnations give you the downsides of being resurrected. It's like, new body, don't need to worry about any of that old body junk. But yeah, we are fixing up Mantle Flame right now. We've kept the 30-foot we've kept the initial bright light of Phoenix Soul, because like, hey, it's harmless, it's not really useful, it's cool flavor. I guess it's great if you're fighting anything like with if you're in the Underdark fighting Drow. But this ability here is what we're gonna touch up on. Any creature that takes fire damage any creature takes fire damage equal to the charisma modifier if it hits you with a melee attack or within 5 feet of you. Makes melee attack within 5 feet of you, or if it touches you. We want to change this up because there is a good chance that if you are with a party that has basic, like, support spells, a lot of them are touch. Not a lot, but like enough where it's like, hey, if you're starting at low levels or want to do basic spells like Heroism, Cure Wounds, Punishment of Evil, they can't really do that to you while you're in combat, because if you're in combat, you're going to be using Mantle of Flame. You just are. So we probably just want to change it to when a creature is attacking you, because then it punishes players from supporting you, and I feel like as a player, unless you really want that spice and that sense of like you being a fucking murder, you don't want that. It's gonna be more of a hindrance. If you wanted it to be a flavor thing, you can, but I don't feel like that should be the hard set. So we're just gonna make it when a creature attacks you. Does it specify melee attacks? I think it does. Attack. Well, add it minimum 1. Because if for some reason you have a neutral charisma, which, like, I've seen, I'm playing in a party where there's a sorcerer with a neutral charisma. I want to make sure that you're at least doing something. And, like, it's not a lot, but, like, it's good to just have in the rules if someone goes, hey, you have neutral charisma, this is useless to you. No, it's not. Let's see. Yeah, we're gonna do add charisma to fire spells. And again, it's whenever you roll fire damage at all. So that's great for your cantrips. I do think it's very powerful. It essentially gives you a potent spell, but for sorcerer at potentially at like first level, which is very good. Also, hey, KB. Glad you want the Stone Journer. Hi, KB. How you doing? How's your game? Because you play games like every weekday. Yeah, whatever. Whatever, dude. Every roll for her damage. Turn. Add. Spot. Fire. Wait. Okay. Ooh. Great game. The PCs are trying to prevent the assassination of the mayor. Oh, I'm glad they're doing a good job. I'm glad they're protecting the political landscape. Wait. Oh. Or... Again, I feel like this is a very basic thing, but like it never hurts because sometimes players do things that aren't optimal. You just want to make it like a little bit so they get the little safety blanket. Alright? They succeeded and sexily defeated the sniper. How? What is Kef is fucking said squid in your party? Do they fucking sweep them off their feet and like smooch to them, thus making the sniper miss their shot? Do they seduce the sniper through their sniper lens? So like the little stealth scope? Okay, it was slag. Alright, you know what? Would it be crazy to add temporary hit points? Because that may encourage you to one, use Mental Flame when you go into combat, because you may want that extra little bit of bulk. And I do feel like a big part of the Phoenix Soul, of Phoenix Sorcery, is to have that bit of, is to have that survivability, and we have a lot of means to survive, especially when we go to 6th level and we do some tweaking to Phoenix Spark. And we're gonna have Death Ward, and we're gonna have Fire Shield, because I feel like a big thing is we want to punish people for attacking us, and so maybe having temporary points will give us a good chance to encourage that. Ooh, maybe we can encourage sorcery. Well, we shouldn't assume we have sorcery points on level 1, because we don't have sorcery points on level 1. That may be a level 6 feature to add on to Mantle of Flame. Yeah, I like that. I like that. Add that as a level 6 feature as like a booster to Mantle of Flame, because then it encourages you to be, again, a bit more bulk, and at that point you have sorcery points to spend, and it gives us a way to use sorcery points, because I feel like it's a key thing you should do, and just feed it into the gimmick, right? Make your Mantle of Flame, make your transformation the biggest deal, because that's why you're investing in the subclass. So actually, I think we should keep Mantle of Flame the same now, and then boost into it, just build onto it, because that's what I love about a lot of D&D subclasses. Like, I think the one that does it the best is the Conquest Paladin, because it gives you fear, it makes you play on fear, and it just keeps on adding ways so you can get the fear condition, and what happens when a creature is feared by you. So, it's very good shit. Me and homies love it. They adore it even. Alright, so this I think is pretty good for first level. We get Produce Flame, it's a bonus cantrip, so we have 5 cantrips at level 1, which is very good. As well as just solid spells that do good damage and have utility and support, which sort of makes us feel a little well-rounded. But this makes us feel a little well-rounded. But also, especially in late game, gives us some more supportive capabilities of, although not being a healer, being sort of the emergency person, right? Like, oh, someone does die, you can use the ability of rebirth that you have and apply it to others, which I think is a cool character, good thing in like character narrative or like narrative prompts. I really like it. So now let's skim over Phoenix Spark, which is sort of an idea we really liked. I think the one thing that we would really change from it. Oh, also, we're going to change this to equal, you can use this feature equal times per frequency modifier to modernize it a bit, and also just encourage you using it, instead of you feeling like you have to use it for the big fight, because you may not be using it for the big fight, and also is to convey how powerful you are. You could just go knocking butts. Also, this is a real exposure to my spelling errors, and no one can see, no one knows my sorrows. Let's double check how this is worded. Okay. Also, KB, if you're interested to see how any of this goes, or any of the other subclasses I'm trying to rework, because the general goal is to rework a lot of the Sorcerer UA content that's not made into books, and see like, well, how can we make it a bit better? I am thinking about, that's right, I'm shilling my Discord again, because I feel like it's more important now that Twitter is on several layers of live support. That Discord is a bit more important, being a way to keep up with being a lot better, especially not to worry about any algorithm problems, and also getting more easier access to my notifications, and also just being in a cool community. I think we got a really cool, small, snuggly community. And also get access to what this will become, and also some character sheets based on Pokemon. Complete builds from 1 to 20 in there. and they're ones I'm very excited about. Some I really love, and some that are just wild. Less so because they're good, but more so how it ends up working. Like, do you ever want to see how Mr. Mime could be a silent spellcaster and be effective at it? You can check it out on my Discord, or if you want to be Raichu and kill an elephant in one shot, you can find out how. Or if you want to be if you just want to be a blind character that happens to be very mobile, you can check out Zubat. But yeah. Or if you want to be a giant robot, you can check out Golurk. Anyway, so we're gonna keep Phoenix Spark. Redux. We're gonna make that slightly bigger, only to make it underneath slightly smaller. Yeah, so I think here I want to keep the basic premise of the idea, right? I do think, looking at it, I don't mind the 10-foot explosion. Because it makes you really concerned about positioning. You are also a sorcerer, so you're likely going to be in the back lines. And if you are surrounded, you're probably not surrounded with your party. But it is a half a fireball. So related to homebrew content, I want to build for myself a new martial class to replace the kind of underpowered ones. I have an idea for a martial hero award, but I haven't put anything up paper yet. So, what do you mean by a martial hero? Do you mean just the concept of a hero, and building off of that idea? Like, sort of what I'm trying to think of is like the flavor of a paladin without the like mixing fighter and paladin's vibe check without having Jesus, that's loud. Is it the playlist I think it is? No, it isn't. Okay. It's just as loud. Why must Alola music be so loud? Wait, is it even... Yeah. Holy City, why must it be so loud? You know what? No summertime. Fuck you. Funky and groovy Nintendo music. Fuck you. We're in the groove now. The fuck up. But yeah, are you thinking of like more of a... Of like, again, a paladin without the spell components and make it more so... Because I'm kind of thinking you probably make it more of a combination of like Battle Master and Paladin vibe check if you want to go for like the core concept of a martial hero, right? But of course, I'm gonna get so sidetracked off of that until you write down things that I gotta focus on this. Okay, so what we want to change here is maybe make it more of a dex save. Because like, yeah, you're not gonna be doing as much damage in theory, because like of course things resist fire. It's a very common resistance because fire is a very common damage type. Also, your party may not be fucked over, right? Because they have a chance to evade. But it's guaranteed damage nonetheless, right? Well, actually, it's not a whole lot of damage. Wait, hold on. Okay, it's not a lot of damage for it to be guaranteed. Because yeah, it's equal to half your sorcerer level, so at most, right? So yeah, at this point of the game, it'd be like 3 plus maybe 8, so that's gonna be about... the 3 plus 5, so that's gonna be 8 damage, right, at this point. And if you're in Mantle of Flame, it really boosts to about like 13. Um, and even at level 18, where if you're mental flame, it gets 20 damage. That's gonna be about 20. Wait, that's gonna be 10. It's gonna be. It's gonna be a big explosion. My numbers are all there. I'm good at math. Pen lied. 5 plus 10. Okay, so it'd be 35 damage. Would be the max on it. At that point, is a bruise, but not the worst unless you have other sorcerers and everything. It would be a shame. But also, you have collateral. We've got collateral with Death Ward and all that, so it shouldn't matter. No, not as much a paladin. My goal is to make a fighter type at a high level get close to fantasy mythological heroes like Hercules, Cuchulainn, or like anime martial artists. Okay. Interesting. I would probably suggest something adjacent to Battlemaster style, because I think Battlemaster really should be the fighter. I think it should just be, and like the subclasses have different maneuvers they have access to, but maybe make yours have more like heroism points or something. Like if you just want to go with hero, right, is your base name, maybe make it more so about like particular acts that they can do that could be very absurd. Maybe make it very high risk, high reward. Like a subclass, a class that's all about going big and going home, having that hubris and seeing what pays off and what doesn't. That way, if it works, it has that big payoff. You know, maybe make them crit fishers or having bigger chances to do that, or maybe give them like big mobility buffs. Like, honestly, kind of make them a bit more like a barbarian paladin combo, I think. Like, give them those passive mobility buffs, give them that brute force power, but give them techniques to it. That's kind of what I'm thinking. Techniques or different tools to encourage a high risk, high reward way, because like all of it is about the fact that this person can just Achilles could just go through an entire battlefield, but also he is emotionally so vulnerable. Alright. So I think actually we'll keep the 10-foot radius, because is it more balanced? No, I think it's kind of fun, actually, when doing the math, and especially considering what levels you'd be. My thought was start with Battlemaster straight up. Yes, absolutely. Steal Battlemaster, make it a class, because it might as well be. Increase the number of superiority die, and then I thought would add a set of mighty deeds that they can pick, like warlock implications. Ooh! They would give them a consistent passive ability or larger abilities to run Spirit. That's great. I love that. Like, KB, I know I may not be able to be committed to like a consistent game, but if you need like a one-shot to playtest that when you have it, I would love that, because I love the premise of that. I love the premise of, because I know I've definitely thought of taking the Battlemaster superiority die system and apply it to a different class. I've tried to make a witch homebrew class that basically was like that, but for a D6 intelligence caster, and apply more debuffs. But like, that feels like a really cool combination. Anyway, shut up about your homebrew, I say affectionately, and putting a little heart. I'm doing a little heart in my hands, but you can't see because I don't have hand tracking. If I did, my model would be a nightmare. Okay. So yeah. Keep the 10-foot blast zone. Don't give a shit about that. What we do give a shit about is recovering more than 1 hit points, because we don't want to just go immediately down, especially because we're using a reaction risk. And yeah, it's reasonable that we can only lose once per long rest, because I don't imagine just going down so much. So yeah, let's just copy this part word for word. And we'll change this section of the No, become 15. Also, remove. I hate copy pasting from this horrid text. Are you sure this is also Arial? Normal text. No. Get rid of the highlight. None. This is also Arial? No. Okay, wait. That's not 15. That's so much smaller. Okay, whatever. It's fine. But yeah, Sorcerer, we're trying to fix up the old UA elemental sorcerers, and I feel like we've been spending a long time, but I'm having a lot of fun. I may honestly just dump Fire Emblem for the week and just focus on this, because I'm having so much fun. Yeah, we're gonna rework you instead resort 1 hit point, because although I think that's cool that you get to be back at 1, I do feel like if it's reaction, that could really fuck you over, and if the initiative is not in your favor, you just get dunked on. So let's get like a little bit of, let's say maybe a pool of d6 equal to your proficiency modifier plus your. Let's do some damage. Let's do some dice calculation, because that actually may be a lot for a sorcerer. So, dice calculator. So if we're working with, like in this case, 3d6, right? So raw is 3d6, not even consider charisma or constitution modifier. The average would be getting back 10, maybe 11 hit points, right? Which is a lot. Like, if you were a sorcerer, let's say we've invested a little bit of con, but like not a whole lot. So like, if we were a level 6 sorcerer, all that, we had, say, plus, let's be generous, say plus 3 constitution. Plus 18. Yes. Plus 18. The most likely we'd have is 39. So it would be about a third of your hit points. Well, actually more so about a fourth. On average. Even if you were at the high roll, like you rolled max all the time. Wait. I'm doing this wrong. Okay, wait. If we were doing 8, okay. 15 plus, assuming you had this much, so that would be, okay. So if you had middling HP, or like a decent con, that would be about the amount. About a fourth of your hit points back. Which isn't too bad. Honestly, for something like 10 hit points back is okay. And like, even, let's say you were a mad lad, you invested, at this point, you somehow were like my Chad and have like 5 in both charisma and con, because you heard that's like the good thing to do. It'd be insane if you roll that good, because I've only had that happen when I first played Sorcerer. That would be okay. So at first level you get 11 hit points plus every yellow level. You get 5 additional hit points, so that'd be plus 5. Wait. Yeah. Okay, so it's not really a lot of hit points to get, on average, about 10 hit points at this point in the game, right? So it's 3d6, right? And even if we added charisma, so like say if we added charisma, so that'd be maybe plus 5 at this point. That is about 15 out of, on average, if we said you had a pretty generous score, that'd be about a 40. Oh, but you could get to over half, so let's make it a raw d6. So, like, you could get a lot back, but also, on average, you're getting about 10 points back. And, like, it's not super likely you're gonna get the big 18, right? You're not gonna get the Yahtzee. So, that's something I'd be like, let's play test this, see how this goes. But I do like the idea of getting a bit more hit points back. Alright. Alright, so I'm gonna say you're instead healed for D6 equal to your proficiency modifier, assuming you're at 1 hit points. That way, it's under the same idea that you went to 0 and then went back up. That means you also get +1. So, excuse me. So maybe like 3d6, in this case, 3d6 amount of healing, assuming you were at 0 hit points. Hope that wording makes sense. That might be something that's more of a play-tested vibe check, or like other people reading it. But I do like the idea of getting like a good amount of hit points back, because like, yeah, we don't need a whole lot. If that needs to be reworked, that could be reworked. But I don't think going at 1 is the best way of going for it, and it's also something that can only be used once per long rest. So that's okay. Everything else is pretty much the same. I feel like Kermit doing the little typey taps with this groovy music. Also, whenever the music stops and I haven't moved the mouse, I have that innate anxiety that my magic computer just cracks. Fire damage is damage is doubled. Bubble plus double your charisma modifier. And yeah, keep this as once per long rest, because you shouldn't be needing this so much. Alright, and let's make another ability for 6th level that when we get here, we can gain maybe temporary hit points when we enter Mantle of Flame. And use sorcery points to do it. What's this do? It's called like never ending play, right? It's a placeholder. So yeah, maybe when you activate your mental plane, you can use sorcery points to give yourself temporary hit points. But the real question is, how much should they equate to? Because I do like the idea of you being a bit more bulky. You shouldn't be built to assume that you're going to 0 hit points. Sorry, there was like a little catcher coming down. I couldn't tell if it was a fly or a little spooter. Alright. So yeah, when you activate your Mantle of Flame, use Sorcerer to add Vitality. See, how much should, so if we're working with, say, our hit points on average, right? We're going to go back to the calculation I did before, and I hope I did it right. Okay, so we're working at level 6 of die, and assuming we have like maybe a +3 constitution, right? Like we're pretty modest at it. Maybe we just we're doing roll point buy, which at this point you could very easily get +3, maybe +4. We're just gonna say +3 because you're probably mostly investing in charisma. And like maybe got really lucky with the +3. So in that case, the level would be +9, and then that would be +18. Yes. So like on average, we have 45 hit points. And we want temporary hit points. That's the goal here. So how much would it be that wouldn't be insane, right? And how much would it be per sorcerer point? Because like at this point you have like 6 sorcerer points to work with, right? And if someone did want to invest all of them into temporary hit points, like how much are we working with? Do we just want to make it like 5 temporary hit points per like 5 temporary hit points per sorcerer point? Let's see. I do think there is something with normal sorcerer that's giving them a possible buff from Tasha's. Okay, that's giving them rerolls. let's put as a placeholder 5 hit points per sorcerer points. Because, like, yes, we could go insane. Like, if someone just wanted to survive, they could, in theory, assuming they have 45 hit points, almost double their health with getting 35 hit. Wait. Yeah, about like 35 hit points as well. Functionally having like a really absurd amount of hit points, but also consider barbarians at that level would also just have way more hit points as well. And sorcerers are very squishy, so they'd just be blissy builds like they've always been. I don't think would be absurd. And maybe it could only really be active while Mantle Flame is existing. So it's encouraging you to stay in your Mantle Flame. And if you die or like you go down in your Mantle Flame, you have your Big Bang smash hit comedy series. Okay. It has to be at the beginning. So. Ooh, let's see if we can add a. That would be smart. That would be the Wizards of the Coast way of thinking, and not in a stinky way. Let's see. Maybe half your level's worth? Because then you're not dumping all your sorcerer points into survivability. Remember though, casters with a cleric dip with heavy armor and shield while using a shield spell easily out-tank warriors. You see, much like Wizards of the Coast, I'm not giving a shit about multi-classing. Because, like, also, this also makes me from having a cool Templar group. I also don't mean to be dunking on you specifically, KB, who is a person who works with a lot of people who do very power builds, and also you who does, like, experimenting and testing the limits of the game. I have been playing with a lot of players who are very cool and focus more so on the flavor, and the mechanics are more so a way to enable the flavor. So I definitely come across in a lot more of a roleplay background, and a lot more of a background of like, hey, look, we're not gonna build these characters just so we can make them strong. They're gonna be strong. I'm not gonna just dip into cleric because I can, right? I'm not just gonna dip into I'm sorry, but why is there... this is my last surprise. I wasn't ready for this. Why are you under Funky Nintendo Music playlist? What? Persona 5? What? You're not Nintendo. Yakuza's not Nintendo. I'm gonna skip that one because I'm a fan of Last Surprise, I fear that's gonna copyright me. Of all things. But I like playing as a Jig. I'm just saying I am almost never seen a squishy caster. At least not after level 6. And you... Well, okay, then again, Dude, I see a lot of squishy casters in my personal experience. Especially from someone whose second character was an attempt of a melee sorcerer. By using Storm Sorcerer as an originality, because I thought, hey, I like the idea of a sorcerer who just punches people with lightning, and seeing like, well, what if I play Subversion to the archetype? of a blaster, right? Of like someone who's aggressive but like magically melee. And let me tell you, despite him having a fantastic con, he was sure able to take a few hits because he had like no AC. He had like 13 AC, and by level 8 got 14 AC, and that is with a +1 AC boosting item. So yeah, he only got to 14 at most, and that was again at level 8. And like, yeah, I think there definitely are ways that players can access to it, but that's also just like, hey, it's there in the game. It's impossible, if you're saying that it's like impossible for a spellcaster just to be squishy, like, yeah, so there may be. I mean, like, even if you're a wizard, if you're an abjuration wizard, you cannot be squishy, if you're abjuration, right? But like, that's a problem for any class, really. Like, even if you're dipping into Warlock, right, to get the undead patron, so you can get Form of Dread, you're still gonna get like the temporary bites. Like, granted, it's not gonna be insane, but this also is a commitment you have to make before you, like, once you start Mantle of Flame, you have to commit how much. And right now I'm sort of leaning more towards half your sorcerer level's worth of sorcery points you could put in. So like, even if you're level 20, you can only essentially get 50 points extra, which is essentially the same amount as like a normal wizard doing like Tensor's Transformation, right? So essentially you're like casting a 6th level spell, and for this level it's like, oh, it's like you're casting False Life on you at like 3rd level, right? Where it's like, yeah, it's decent, but it's not insane, and it gives you a little bit of bulk. And also, sorcerers need all the help they get, buddy. And this isn't just a dip. I mean, of course, if you're doing it backwards, of course it can be better. Still, I feel like it's more of a 5e problem, more so than a just the class itself. And of course, I am more assuming, because let's face it, you don't really know how a class plays until it's play tested. Everything's kind of assumed to be in a vacuum. I mean, case in point, every 5e module is in a vacuum. And like, it's very painful that it's in a vacuum, because they really struggle on things being on point bind. Not a lot of people use point bind. At least not a lot of players who just want to have, I don't want to say just have fun, but like a lot of players who are more so there to tell a story will, I've noticed, do more role, whereas a lot more people worried about balance and more so mechanics based on what 5e sets. It it just, it's rough. Sorcerer might just need the help anyway. I've only seen Sorcerer dips for meta magic. Exactly. And like, that's a shame, especially with meta magic adept existing. Like, I think I appreciate meta magic adept existing, but like, also, oh, meta magic adept, why? Why must you steal everything from me? Yeah, no, I bet. And also, with this being more based on sorcerer level, it will also, I know I'm doing a bit 1 D&D-ish here, but it also encourages for you, like, the more you invest in this class, the more likely you are to get your innate power of the Phoenix up. Yeesh. But yeah, so this way gives us a little bit more bulk, and we're not built to just have our feature be used, so when we go down, we get to explode. And yeah, Sorcerer always just needs help. It just needs help. Honestly, this was I, a humble wizard, just need to help the innate magic of others. Alright. So, next is the real tricky part. I like that though. I don't really see characters dip. I don't really like seeing characters dip lots of classes. Says the person who has a character who's dipped into 3 classes. Says, looks at you and your fighter barbarian monk. Gloomstalkers. Yeah, Gloomstalkers are the meta one, aren't they? Man, it's so funny because I know I once played a Gloomstalker for one shot, and he was a chuckle fuck. And I mean that in a sense, not so much like, oh, he was nasty. More like, no, he was a fucking joke. If you don't get that good first turn, you're done, dude. Because you have to rely on deleting as much as you can on the first turn, unless you're like a really high Gloomstalker. I'm positive I'd run to everything into it. I try to run to everything as a tank. Dude, hey, if it helps out, in the last D&D session I was in, I have a Knoll who's like Hyena Man fighter paladin who's got like 19 AC, so I'm very confident we're never going to combat. But like recently we're like in an underground gambling ring called the Basilisk Den. And earlier in the campaign we fought like a half dragon, half basilisk boss fight, and when I started the fight, I told it like, alright, let me tell you your prophecy. I'm gonna bash your head, I'm gonna bash your skull in and make you go to the bottom of the sea, and he turned me to stone for like a turn or two, and I broke out, and then I killed it by bashing it in the head and making it and use Crusher Bee to push into the ocean, and fulfilled my prophecy. So like when we go to this place at the Basilisk Den, I'm like, oh, I can never die. I could break away from turning to stone. Oh dude, the bets are just 5 times the amount of money that you put in. I'm just gonna put in all my money I have. Quadruplify it. And like I got like a nat 19, making it like a 26, and like the whole goal is like you stare at this basilisk for 6 seconds, and if you make it, you make 5 times your money. My boy stares at it for like 30 seconds before going, you can put the blindfold back on. I'm a battle master. Is supported by lore. I promise they're skilled, but also very angry, but also practice the martial arts. Please! KB, if you ever want to look on my Discord, which all of you can check out, I would chill if I see our regulars are here, so I'm not gonna do it because I don't think we're gonna do people. But like, if you want to see a multi-class madness, look at Pangora's character sheet on the Pokemon builds channel. It's not optimal, but it sure is like fighter, barbarian, bard. Okay, so I gotta focus because I gotta finish this tonight because Fridays is gonna be Sea Sorcerer, and it's gonna be all this again. Dude, I love like Fire Blood Randomizer, that's great. But like also, I'm so willing to just like throw everything off the table for this. Because I feel like it'd be a lot more chatty. And I feel like since we're playing a game, I can get into sort of the game rhythm and not be as chatty. But here I get to be super chatty. Yeah, and I'll probably do that after stream. Alright. So here's the real thing we need to change and fix. Nourishing Fire. Now, Nourishing Fire doesn't seem bad. In fact, when we were looking over this at the beginning, I thought this was like an okay feature. Because basically, it is Fire spells soothe and restore you, which I think is a very funny way to phrase it. When you expend a spell slot that to cast a spell that includes fire damage, you regain hit points equal slot's level plus charisma modifier. And frankly, that's not much. That is not a lot of hit points. And like, yes, you could be casting them frequently, but I feel like if you're going to have, I do like the idea of trying to reward you to be a bit more aggressive and all that, but like, I feel that if you are slinging spells, you probably shouldn't be, and I do like the idea of trying to reward you for doing this. I don't feel like at level 14, that's a big reward. Like, okay, let's assume you just have, at this point, let's say you've invested up to +4 con. It's like maybe you just haven't gotten +5 because maybe your charisma was a certain way, right? Maybe you wanted to get a feat out of one, right? You put in a little bit of con because you still go like at level 12, you just need to add something, right? So let's do 13d6 plus level 9 if you had +4 con, or level level 2, 10 plus 4 times 13 is too much. I'm gonna get my calculator on my hand mirror. 13 times 4, 52. Ooh, bulky boy, very loosey. Okay, on average, at level 14, you may get up to... You can still Necromancer's Grim Harvest. Ah, a feature that I, as a Necromancer, are playing for 2 years. Like, never used. Which is a shame, because it's a very good ability. You can still the Necromancer... Grim Harvest, killing things with fire instead of necromancy, heals you based on the level of spell used. Maybe? But, like, I think that's worse. Because, like, I think that's a really good ability for early game. Because that kind of revival is a lot more useful when you are being a wizard who's not usually used to being the aggressive character. Like, at least in theory, because wizards are more made as utility and problem solvers. So you getting the kill, one, isn't super common, and two, especially with necromancy spells, because your necromancy spells aren't that diverse, and even if someone kills with a skeleton, it can be controversial, if that counts or not. And I do feel like whenever you cast it, because you could even completely burn the slot, and you get hit points. Meanwhile, with Necromancer's Grim Harvest, you can just slurp. Like, it's more so based on if you have people to kill and how much your DM gives in front of you and how much you're willing to... Oh, I played a one-shot yesterday with a cleric, level 8 cleric, and 2 level necromancer. Healing from slaughtering with spirit guardians was my whole deal. Wait, I'm pretty sure Grim Harvest is it only for... It's not just for necromancy. Wait. Let me look at an ability that I've had for 2 years and never used. Okay, the benefit is bigger if it's necromancy. Okay. I don't know. I don't know if I actually wanted to be maybe more supportive. Because, like, one thing that we've done here... Because, like, yes, DPS is cool. And we've had a focus on DPS. And we've had a focus on survivability. Because, like, even when we look at our spells... We have a lot of fire. We have so much fire. But we're also kind of built to do a little bit of support. We want to change this to be an ability that can maybe alternate between us or others. Because I do think a sorcery point thing should be best for a level 6 ability, because that's when you start using your resources and everything. Level 14 may not want to unless you want to have like something that's like a really big power move. Let's see some comparisons of other level 14 sorcerer abilities that is official. So like, let's see Aberrant Minds. I think Aberrant Minds, yeah, Aberrant Minds does like a transformation where it gives you a lot of options, and depending on how many sorcery points you spend, gives you the multiple options. So if you want all 4, you can spend 4 sorcery points on it, which could be pretty nice. Let's see. For Clockwork Sorcerer, the 14th level, you gain the ability to align consciousnesses to an endless calculation of arcanas. As bonus action, you can enter a state for 1 minute for the duration attack rolls against you can benefit from advantage. Okay, so we can also maybe benefit from the idea of like a powerful ability that you can maybe recharge with sorcery points. Because that could be pretty cool. We can also maybe check out the Phoenix stat block for some inspiration as well. Because this is a stat block, and it is the ultimate fire elemental, which is a shame because it's only a CR 16 compared to the other forces of nature, which are like level 20 plus CRs. And I think that's so wild. Let's see, even Divine Souls, another race. Let's see. Okay, that's when we get Angelic Form to get the funny wings. And that's just at will flying, which is never to sleep on. Because even I, as playing with Necromants for 2 years, think about my wizard flying. I don't have fly on him because why would I invest a spell slot with concentration on it? See, and that one will let you a lot of funny shadow walks. Storm Sorcerer competition gives us the reaction of big shovies. I'm kind of realizing they don't really know it's a good level 14 ability, actually. Because I do like the idea it's probably for survivability, right? Yeah, let's take the Phoenix stat block. Because it's been a long time since I looked at it, and maybe it'll have some good things that could be inspired us, because at the time that this was made, I don't think the Phoenix was made. When I cast Fly, when the Broom of Flying exists. But also, here's the thing. Hot take. That kind of stuff is only if you, as DM, decides to drop that into existence. If you don't, then okay, whatever. You also can have an Aarakocra player. I also don't know how far the Broom of Flying can go, but like also, there are other ways to get fly speed. Even if most of them involve concentration, a lot of the ones at will are usually at like level 14 anyway. But like Broom of Flying, that depends if you are willing to have a Broom of Flying into the gaming field. Like, whatever like DM's like, oh no, my players are just strong, they have so many good magic items. Like, yeah, who gave it to them? Yeah, who thought it'd be really cool to have that? And you just didn't do anything about it? You're literally the one who decided that they should have this. Or you were the one who decided it'd be cool to use against them, and then they could take it. Like you realized anything you put on the table, they can use. My only complaint is it being uncommon instead of rare, or even very rare. That is very interesting, because like, what's the rarity of what's the rarity of the? Because let me check. The Broom Flying is uncommon. 50 flying speed, okay. That's faster than a horse. Well, it's slower than a horse, but still. Still very fast. Okay. Yeah, it's pretty powerful, but like, honestly, hot take. Arakocra. I'm glad they nerfed Arakocra, but like, for the longest time, Arakocras are just working with Broom of Flying. Pentagon, I'm passing out. Can we trade tomorrow? Yeah, I can do tomorrow. I am about to... I would go to work an hour earlier, but I'd be down around in the evening before stream. And worst case scenario, I think the latest we can arrange is probably Sunday, because I know I have Sunday off and could do anytime then. So my shopping rules with Xanathars, it's cheap, easy to acquire. If someone was more expensive, to be fair enough. I mean, like, I know you roll for it with Xanathars, but like, you could just take it off the table if you feel like it's unfair for you as a DM and feel like it's insane, or just classify it as a more rare item. Like, I'm sorry if I'm making it sound like, KB, you're the problem. You're crazy. You're insane. What made you think the Broom of Flying is so powerful? But also, like, I really do feel like magic items are so key to the game, and sometimes not knowing how to use them is the detriment. I know for me, I really struggle with using magic items. Not so much because I think I use them too much. I use them too little. I don't think about magic items, so I'm really bad at implementing magic items. But it also means that makes some characters really suffer, because some characters don't need magic items. Wizards don't need magic items, they need scrolls. They need access to spells, maybe something to help out their spells, or like change their preparedness, but like their rewards are spells. But like martial characters need magic weapons. They need it because not only for later game resistances, but also just to make them feel cool and feel like they made that progression of power, right? Like, if your fighter, you know, gets the axe of flame and brimstone because they fought like a demon with it, that's fucking rad. Alright, so let's check out. The reason why I wanted to check this, I wanted to check my person of Necklace of Fireballs, which also uses a third level spell at will. Yeah, Necklace of Fireballs is rare, so why isn't funny Broom? Who knows? Right, I wanted to check Phoenix. Prophetess Darn? Who's Prophetess Darn? Access is required. Man. Alright, is there anything filtered here? No. Here, why don't we go specifically elemental, because I know Phoenix is an elemental. Oh, of course, when I do that, okay. No, you're right, but I want to be consistent. But in WoW Phase 2, a mysterious broom shortage will... Dude, honestly? Say it's a witch thing, you know? Because witches could have a lot of wacky things in the brooms, right? Because that's probably when you would get a broom, right? So maybe play around with the fact that, like, only hags have access to it, and, like, powerful ones, because they're the ones who have it. You know, maybe just make it in that sense of like, if your players are gonna get it, that's gonna be how they do it, right? It's not gonna be something that's gonna be dropped into the lap, even with Magic Shopping. Because like, also, I don't know how much your players look for Broom of Flying. I just don't. Let's see. What could we maybe do? We can maybe actually work with some wings. I know we were just talking about flight, but I was considering putting fly into the spell list. Just because haha, funny bird. Okay, it looks like we have the fiery death. We have the fiery form. And the elimination. Yeah, no, looks like we got the stuff. You know what? Let's do something we could do for sure is we don't have fire resistance. What's up with that? Why don't we just get fire immunity at this point? Right? Make that a big thing. Like, it's level 14. This is the point of the game where you're going nucking funs, right? Like, really at level 14 and 18, you really shouldn't be giving a shit when you give your players. Like, this is just, like, fun stuff, right? Because I think, like, for me, in personal experiences, like, if you're in a long-term campaign, level 12 and 14 are, like, that point where you're at your endgame and, like, getting your capstones. You're there just to be like, alright, most of you stop getting cool stuff at level 14 for, like, your subclass. Here it is. Go nucking funs. This is the end game. It's like the final boss. Go nuts. And I think having immunity fire to that would be really cool. Maybe even you can gain hit points if you get hit with fire. Instead, maybe we work in a rushing flame like that. Like, whenever you're hit by fire, you maybe regain half that damage. That way, you get to sort of be this tanky, like, tanky to your niche, right? And maybe you can absorb. So, like, maybe if there is a, fire spell within, like, 10 feet of, fire damage dealt within 10 feet of you, you can absorb it instead and gain half the damage rolled as hit points. That way, if you're in hell, you are a king. You're gonna be immune to all those fireballs, like hellfire, but just like absorbing it and being the MVP of being defensive and supporting your team while also dishing out fire. Maybe also make it that, like, you ignore fire resistance or immunity. That might be a separate feature, but, like, I like the idea of absorbing fire damage. Like, being immune and absorbing fire damage and adding it to your own. Because fire damage is really common, no matter where you go. The Witch Queen wants everything to be dirty. You cannot clean it up with brooms. Okay. So, we're gonna put an experimental nourishing flame here. Nursing. Alright, so let's go. You gain fire damage because, like, why wouldn't you? Like, you're going nucking butts here. This is level 14. You're likely ending a campaign here, unless you are Mad Lads. So, like, this is when you just go nuts. Maybe the fire damage. Additionally, let's do once per turn. Of you, they absorb. And absorb it. Deal out of damage. So, say someone casted a fireball by you that would have dealt, like, full damage to someone, you could just slurp that and get, like, let's roll let me roll 66. Right. It's real dice, real stream. You hear these? This is dice ASMR stream. Okay, I got 66. Yep, 66. Alright. Like some nerd just throws fireball at you. But say someone just if you fly girl throws you a fireball, here's what you do. Alright, so I rolled pretty good for this. So we got 10, 15, 18, 20, 26. Alright, so 26 damage. Level 3 fireball blows up. You absorb at least half of the fireball's radius, and you gain 13 hit points from that, which is pretty good and about the damage that you would heal from like if you had max charisma, like a level 7 like fireball, right? Or delayed fireball, which is like, beautiful. I feel like it's also just a bit more cool and may also help you be strangely like offensive, and also a way that you can support your party by being the fire. You cannot be fire with you. And lastly, we get our capstone form of the Phoenix, which for the most part I felt like was pretty solid, because then when we go into our mental flame, we have 45 movement speed, resist to all damage, works very well for you being insanely bulky, with having not only immunity fire, very common damage type, but also having the ability to absorb fire damage and get temporary points. Like, this point in the game, right, you could get, you're bulky. You probably have +5 con at this point. You have an instant feats. If you have, there's a good chance to have maxed out con. You likely have up to 50 temporary hit points. So, like, you are solid. This music plays when you're about to go knucking futs. For reference, I usually play... Wait, is it... Yeah, I use battle... I use this battle theme all the time in my D&D games, so I'm just like, oh, it's the same! It's the Xenoblade! But yeah, I think we're gonna keep Form of the Phoenix, because this is perfect. It also gives a big bonus to Phoenix Spark, and I love how it builds, so that's that. Okay, yeah, we're just gonna copy paste it. Okay, so as Phoenix, Merry Christmas, Chrysler. Alright, we're just gonna copy paste this, because this is solid as is. Alright, so this is kind of our... Oh, also make that honey. Why is the text gray? What would we make the text gray? Text color? Yes. Okay, so to refresh how we have modified the Phoenix Soul Sorcerer is we've given them additional spells. We've given them Produce Flame as a good way to sort of keep Ignite grandfathered in, and keep it less so it's just Firebolt sheer damage, more as ways that you can use it for those miscellaneous I just want to burn things. Oh, I just want to produce light. Oh, I can do a little damage, right? And also when you're Mental Flame, that's still going to be a D6 plus your curse modifier, which I know isn't plus D10, but like you might just pick up Produce Firebolt, because you're going to have 4 other cantrips to pick out of. You're going to get Burning Hands and Fairy Power right at first level, which means you have a good way to do a small AoE fire damage. It's going to be boosted by Mental Flame. So it's going to do maybe any routine 3d6 plus 3 or plus 4, or even plus 5 if you're crazy, if you're necking butts. Fairy Power to produce some support for your team, to make other people stand out, to get advantage, and also so that way You can maybe even take care of invisible creatures. You light up the way for them in a way that's supportive and not just DPS. Scorching Ray, you're DPS. You're insane. You're a fucking monster. Even at level 3. With having, again, up to +5 with Scorching Ray. Even pairing it up with Fairy Fire, you can be crazy. You can be insane. You can be nothing butts. Paired with Pyrotechnics, which is a good way because you're going to have fire all over the place. It's going to be surprising if you're not going to have fire all over the place, especially with Produce Flame. And that's a cool way to get some AoE blinds or even some Fog Cloud-esque shenanigans going on to provide some escape opportunities if you feel like you're ever in like real danger. Additionally, you get Fireball, which is good classic fire spell. Yeah, of course you're gonna get Fireball. Then you get out of your sort of sorcerer comfort zone and have Revivify, a way that you can sort of channel your inner phoenix and resurrect others briefly. It's very good. Death Ward, extend the sort of effect of like pretty soon after you learn Phoenix Spark, you get to learn how to like implement it to others, which I think is really cool flavor-wise, and lets you sort of be a support of like keeping others in this sort of state of like pseudo-immortality. Fire Shield, so then, you know, if someone tries to attack you in person, not only are they going to take a little chip damage from your like charisma modifier, but also they're going to take 2d8 fire damage if you set this up, and you're going to be resistant to cold damage, or even fire damage if you set it up in a certain way, because for some reason we just haven't implemented that. You're going to be very secure. Anyone who tries to attack you is going to be punished, especially with the chance of you adding temporary hit points to this, which could be very nice. Immolation, solid fire damage reincarnation at the pool, build on Revivify. Then we get Mantle of Flame, which is kept mostly the same, with getting the 30-foot radius light, getting the fire damage when someone attacks you within 5 feet of you. Also, we're just going to add a minimum of +1, because that way we have a good safe number in case someone does want to play the Sorcerer optimally, because it happens. Again, I am in a campaign with a Sorcerer as neutral charisma. It happens. Also, with the bonus to fire damage, you're going to get a +1 as well, guaranteed, and then otherwise it would be up to +5, which is very good. And we changed it to equal to proficiency, so you're going to be able to do it multiple times a day, up to 2 to 5 times. It's very good for when you're in a lot of combats. Then we're going to go to Phoenix Spark, which we kept mostly the same, except we can gain equal to d6s up to a proficiency bonus when we are reduced to 0. That way, not only do we get a big burst of fire, but we are due some guaranteed damage of at least up to 8 damage when we are not in our little flare. If we are in our mantle, it'll be up to 13 damage, which is very good. But also we get a little bit of health back instead of just being reduced to 1, so we're not just in the so you're not just the one guy in Hunchback of Notre Dame who's like, I'm free, and then you get instantly in prison. I don't want that for you as a player, so we're giving you a chance to have maybe surviving another hit. It's not guaranteed, but there's a chance, and that's all you get. Endless Flame, Never-Ending Flame, get a good way to give us a use for sorcery points, other than meta magic, because I feel like that is a key thing for Sorcerer. Also allowing you to just get a bit more bulk, which is something that you as a squishy Sorcerer would love. Sorcerers, me and the homeboys, love it when we get some more bulk. Additionally, Nourishing Flames has been buffed to get immunity to fire damage, similar to how Storm Sorcerer gets immunity to thunder and lightning damage, even if those come more niche. Additionally, once per turn, it allows us to absorb fire damage dealt relatively close to us and even heal us. So we take that damage that could potentially be harmful to others, and then we benefit off of it, because that's what life is all about. Lastly, we're keeping the form of the Phoenix exactly how it is, because that gives us big flying speed, that gives us resistance to all damage, which is really good. It's level 18, who gives a shit? Alright? You could also cast Wish. Why should you care what anyone thinks you could do? the wizard could literally do guaranteed damage all the time with 3 magic missiles. Like, there's nothing for you to give a shit about, right? And when you use the Phoenix Spark if you're down, you do 20 more damage, which is just solid. Very reliable if you ever get down, if anyone can bring you down. So, yeah, this was not intended to be 3 hours of me just trying to rework one subclass, but it may end up that way next time, because I think Friday I'm changing my Fire Emblem stream to this, because it's so much fun. This is so much fun. This is way more fun. I love this, and I would love to do more. So next time, I probably want to go for the Sea Sorcerer, with the general goal of making it more cold-based, because that's what I feel like is the real ocean, the real water damage. And also maybe play around with movement. I'm really excited to look into Stone Sorcerer, because Stone Sorcerer is the attempt at the melee sorcerer, which is very tricky, and I just think it's neat. And I don't know, I'm kind of also considering maybe doing reworking some other stuff, or even showing process of homebrew that I've kind of been thinking about doing. So yeah, thank you for everyone who's been here. I've been absolutely vibing here. And also I really appreciate the people who showed up, even though there was a sudden schedule change. Yeah. Let's see, whom's to raid? Let's do... Why don't we raid Odd Cog? He's been a guy I've been sort of raiding pretty regularly, mostly because these streams are at the same time as I do. He gets about the same amount of audience, and we're going to be able to double his view count. He's a very cool dwarf VTuber, which is a very cool group of folks I have found. And he's like a cool little artificer dude. And he's doing some Resident Evil 2, which is the one with Leon! But not the one where Ashley goes, Leon! That's Resident Evil 4. I just really like when Ashley goes, Leo, when it just yells, Leon! I like how nasally it is. It's very stimmy. But, yeah. Raid. Odd. Cog. Alright. Thank you for anyone who came by, whether past, present, or future. I hope you have a nice day or evening and have something nice to look back on. And until next time, I wish you a bye-bye. And if you're still watching this, don't forget that you too can play as Sorcerer good. Sorcerer is an underrated class, it's got good flavor, but the mechanics have been pretty mean to them. Alright, bye-bye.